Do you feel like you are capable of doing more, achieving more, and being more, but something is holding you back? Well, you bet I used to have huge to-do lists. And I used to perceive myself as a very productive person. I still am, but I'm operating a little differently right now. However, for quite a while, I didn't realize that before you even get to the to-do lists, there is something else that needs to happen. And that something starts with the letter D. And no, it's not about your dreams, it's something else. And the something else is decisions. And apparently, there is a structure or method to making decisions, right? So that's what we're going to talk about on this episode. And welcome to the new episode on From Grind to Grace, the podcast for the alternative entrepreneur, the entrepreneur who is ready to flip the script, challenge the norm, and choose freedom first. When freedom is not a destination, when freedom is the path, because when you stop grinding for freedom, success just tags along. And that's the mission for yourself, for your children, and for humanity. And on this podcast, that's what I explore, and that's what I ask questions about when I have my guests on the show. And today we're going to talk about decisions. And I am very curious and excited to explore how decision making contributes to creating your business from the place of freedom, because believe it or not, it does. And so I want to welcome my amazing guest, Samantha. And she is an expert in decision making. And she even has a book on that. Can you believe it? So we'll talk about all. But first, Samantha, so first of all, welcome, 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 welcome. Happy to have you.
Thank you so much. Hello. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here.
But you know what? I want to go straight to the meat, right? Because I was checking you out. I was doing my little research, and I saw something about inspiration on your website. And so I wonder, can you actually make a decision to get inspired?
Of course. Of course. I think where we might start, I mean, the the root word of inspiration is the same as respiration, right? It has to do with breath,
That's
right?
true.
So I think if you are seeking inspiration, you first want to take a breath. Like, calm down, get into this present moment. You mentioned earlier, this productivity addiction. I'm a list maker. My mother was a list maker. My grandmother was a
Mhm.
list maker. Like, we're busy people. We like to be busy. And it's very easy because the culture really reinforces this to believe that your worth is tied up in your doing.
Mhm.
And that the busier you are, the more productive you are, the better you are, the more valuable you are. And in some ways, that's not incorrect. I mean, we are tribal animals. We are designed to live in a group. We know we cannot survive alone, right? That's death. So the good opinion of the group is very important to us. We all want to be contributing to the group and contributing to the survival of the group. And just to circle back to inspiration, this fascinates me. Okay. On my long list of questions for God, this is definitely one of them. How is it that in any group of people at any time throughout all of human history, throughout all cultures, get a group of people together, two or more, and automatically there's someone who's more interested in taking care of the children and somebody who's more interested in plant medicine and healing and somebody
Mhm.
else who's like, no, I want to go see what's over that hill. they're more interested in exploring,
Right.
and somebody else who's more interested in talking to the spirits, and somebody else who's more interested in like building things and being like, well, let me see if I can make that better. Let me put this together this way, right? We automatically, there is a natural distribution of talents and skills and interests that just happens. I just, it blows my mind. How does that happen?
I know, right? So
Right?
comparing to all the animals,
Right. Where they tend to
like
do more or less the same things,
the diversity of what
as far as we know
we
anyway.
become and what we do and how we evolve and how we've evolved over the millennia, like, over time and within our lifetimes. It's
Right.
crazy, isn't it? So,
It's
so much
amazing.
to handle.
And so what I want to point out to you is that everyone has a zone of creative genius,
Hmm.
right? Everyone has something that they're just naturally good at, naturally interested in, always have been. Everybody else is like, "How did you do that?" And you're like, "Oh, I don't know. It was easy. Like, no big deal." Right? I have a client one time who she said even as a kid, she could walk into any room and be like, "No, no, that chair needs to be over there. This wall should be this color. You should get rid of that." Like she had a natural gift for interior design, for just making spaces lovely and comfortable. I do not have that gift. Like, um, so if you're looking for inspiration and if you're looking to make decisions, you might want to start with what is this zone of creative genius for you? You may have more than one. Highly creative people have lots. They're good at a lot of things. Um, and notice I'm saying creative, not artistic.
I know.
Creative and
Yeah.
artistic are two different things.
Hmm.
Not everyone is artistic. Everyone is creative. Creativity has to do with innovative problem solving. If you've ever solved the problem differently than anybody else has ever solved the problem, congratulations, you are a creative genius. So, whatever that is for you, and sometimes we can be a little blind to it because it's our zone of creative, like we don't really think about it. It's so natural to us. It's so much a part of us. We don't even really notice it as a thing. But it might be the thing that you're interested in and nobody else in your family cares about it or is interested. It's always made you a little different. It might be the thing that I think about it this way. If somebody woke you up at 3 in the morning and said, "Hey, hey, hey, we're gonna go do this thing. Do you want to come?" And you would be like, "Yeah, yeah, where's my shoes? Okay, I'm up. Yeah." Right? What's that thing? What's that thing? Um, and if you don't know what to do with your life, start there. Start there. And it doesn't have to be quite so literal. I mean, part of the reason I know that this is true, this thing about this natural distribution of skills and talents, is because every office I have ever been in, there is a birthday person. There is somebody who has taken it upon themselves to know when everybody's birthday is, to pass around a card,
Mm.
to make sure there's cupcakes in the break room. Like, it's their
Yes.
thing. And you're
Yes.
always like, really? Okay, thanks, I guess. And you're like, isn't this kind of a drag for you? Like, no, no, it's fun. I like it. I like it. Now, that person has a natural gift for celebration, has a natural gift for making people feel special, has a natural gift for organizing, for entertaining. Like there's a lot of ways you could go with that skill set. And it sort
Yeah.
of partly depends on what's motivating you. But don't dismiss it as like, well, so I put cupcakes in the break room, big deal. Well, it's more than I would do. I wouldn't put cupcakes in the break room because I don't care about birthdays. I don't care about my birthday. I don't care about your birthday. I don't care. So this might be a place to start is think about your zone of creative genius, the thing that, and again, it might be the thing that everybody goes like, oh my God, you did that. That's amazing. And you're like, not that big a deal. Stop right there because it is. Oh, you can see one of my cats
I
walking up behind
can.
because there's three of them. We're completely overrun.
We have to.
Yeah. Um, just start with your zone of creative genius and then let that inspire you. Take a breath. Let that inspire you. Let your imagination run a little bit. Where does that take you? And then let it help guide your decision making.
It's so fascinating because I somehow intuitively used to do that back in the day a few years ago when I was in the zone of having to make content every day. And
Mm,
I was like, okay, today I have no idea what I need to post about, what I can say, my head is empty. But you know what I used to do? I used to put my I used to put my hands over the keyboard and start typing, even if
Yeah,
it was, today I have nothing to say.
that's right.
And then suddenly there is a post, you know?
Here's another one I do sometimes, and this really works well, is as I write, I tell myself I'm going to write for 15 minutes and I'm going to delete everything. I'm just going to write and then delete it. No one's ever going to see it. Nothing's ever going to happen with it. I'm just going to, and it is amazing what will come out of me if I think no one's ever going to read it. And sometimes I do delete it, and sometimes it's gold and I don't.
Right?
But I
And
fall for it every time. I
I
like
just
my subconscious
remembered
believes it every
now,
time.
I just remembered now, I can't remember the name of the tool, but if you Google, probably it's possible to, oh, what a time, 16th, 16, 16 for me now, you know?
Mhm.
Anyway, so there is a tool, I think you can set it up, or it's always like that, that you can write something. There's like it's a super primitive kind of website with a single field, and it gives you 10 minutes to write
Mm.
something. You start and it deletes if you do after 10 minutes, it deletes everything.
Wow.
The kind of things you can write actually that
That's
come
so
out,
cool.
you are forced into this channeling mode, you know, and it happens, but you need to make a decision. Okay, I'm gonna write something for 10 minutes.
And part of what makes that possible, especially for those of us who tend to be a little overworked and overdone and overcooked and overwrought and over emotional and overthinking and over everything, is the time limit. So my most recent book, The 15-Minute Method, The Surprisingly Simple Art of Getting It Done. Here's the big idea behind the book. I'll save you 15 bucks. You don't have to buy it. Is uh, spend 15 minutes a day, every single day, doing something that matters to you.
Not
That's
for the humanity, not for the family, to you.
It might also matter to humanity and to the
Okay,
family.
okay, yeah,
I don't know. But start with you. It matters to you.
yeah.
And it may be some creative expression. It may be writing or breathing or meditating or taking a walk or stretching or dancing or singing or playing guitar or doing your needlework or whatever, the things that you do to, creatively and artistically satisfy yourself. It might be clearing out your closet. It might be,
Mhm.
okay, I'm going to spend 15 minutes going through this much of the clothes, these 10 inches, and I'm going to sort through these things, and then I'm done, and I'll look at it again tomorrow. It might be spending time on your finances. It might be spending time on your, blog posts. It depends, but what really
Yeah,
matters to you? What's really going to move the needle for you? Because we tend to get praised in this world for the things we do for other people.
right.
And then the things that really matter to us or that we know would really make a difference to us never even make it onto the list.
I know, right? And this is so deep actually, because I think that also serves the purpose of even understanding what it is you want for you. Because I was in the place where, they'd be asking, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. Not that long ago, I had to make a decision to pause there, and instead of saying, I don't know, actually try to extract what the hell that is I want to eat for dinner.
Well, and again,
Yeah.
we're acculturated out of it. I mean, it's not a question we're used to posing to ourselves. What do I want? It's like, what do I want? I don't know. What do you want? What do you want me to want? What can I do for you? Let's talk about that. That's much more comfortable for me, right? I was the same way, especially I remember when my first husband and I separated. I stood in the grocery aisle for 10 minutes because I did not know if I liked creamy peanut butter or crunchy peanut butter. And finally, I bought both. It turns out I like crunchy. But like that's where I was at. Like I didn't even know what kind of peanut butter I liked.
Oh my God, it's so
I had
painful.
just always bought the peanut butter he
It's
liked,
sad. This
right?
makes me sad, this topic, you know? So, anyway, we skipped your intro, right? And I can't wait to talk more about all the decision making and that kind of stuff. But would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'd be happy to. I don't know how much of a story you want. Let's see. My name's Sam Bennett. I grew up in Chicago, great city. I was a theater kid. I've been an actor my whole life. I was the kid who did all the plays in school. I did plays in the living room. I went to theater camp. I did all the things. And I actually left university to take a job at the Second City Theater, which is a really famous comedy theater in Chicago. A lot of, and there's a picture from that first wedding from my first husband, the guy who liked the peanut butter. Um, and, it's me in the big white gown because it's my wedding. Uh, and Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert and Nia Vardalos and Amy Sedaris and Jim Belushi and I toured with Adam McKay and Jon Favreau. Like we were all pals together, Rachel Dratch, all of them. And it was great. It was great. It was super fun. And then I moved out to LA to, trying to break into Hollywood. And I had one of those careers in LA that went well enough that you didn't want to give up on it, but not so well as to be able to support a person.
Mm.
So I worked. I did Modern Family. I was on Days of Our Lives. I did all kinds of shows. And I did a lot of theater. I did a lot of radio drama. I did a lot of improvisation. I taught improv. And then but then to support myself, I had every other job and gig under the sun, right? I delivered flowers. I was an executive assistant. I produced radio dramas. I like you name it. I did scarf tying demonstrations at the department store. Like I did everything. Um, and along the way, like I said, I got really interested in this question of how do highly creative people make decisions? How do you know what project to choose? How do you know how to promote yourself? How do you know
Mhm.
when to pause and when to keep going
Mm.
and when to quit?
Because most entrepreneurs would say, pause. What are you
Right,
talking about?
right, exactly. And then they wonder why they're so burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
So, or why they can't break through their own glass ceiling, right? Gosh, I
Mm-hmm.
keep hitting my head against $100,000. I keep hitting my head against $250,000. I can't seem to break through $500,000. Right, because you're doing the same thing over and over again. So you're going to get the
Right,
same results.
right.
So maybe time to pause, rejigger a little bit if you want it to be different. Um, so I started teaching a class called Get It Done, and like in a church basement in Van Nuys, California, to 11 people. I might have charged them $75 and felt really weird about it. Um, and because I have one of the little quirks of my mind, one of my zones of creative genius is my mind sort of automatically goes, well, how would I figure that out? How would I decide that? When there's no right way, right? There's no right way to be an entrepreneur. There's no right way to be an actor. There's no right way to have the career you want. There's also no right way to be a parent or a friend. There's just your way. So how do you figure out what that is? So I started to create a lot of worksheets and questionnaires and imagination games and just little ways to sort of sneak in the side door of your own mind and figure out what's going on and be able to make the decisions that are really going to feel great to you, both in the process and in the result. Because we can't always control the result, but we can control the process.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started doing it full time. And then I wrote the first book called Get It Done: From Procrastination to Creative Genius in 15 Minutes a Day. And it got endorsed by Seth Godin, if y'all know who
I
he
know,
is.
right?
That's kind of a big deal. Yeah,
It is, it
that was
is.
very significant. And then I wrote my second book called Start Right Where You Are: How Little Changes Can Make a Big Difference for Overwhelmed Procrastinators, Frustrated Overachievers, and Recovering Perfectionists. And then my most recent book is the one that just came out last summer, The 15-Minute Method: The Surprisingly Simple Art of Getting It Done.
Super, great story. Yeah, love it. Okay, so then why decision making?
Because it's where everything starts, right? It's
Well,
where everything starts.
tell me more about it
Yeah,
because because I'm very serious.
yeah.
This is a huge blind spot for most entrepreneurs. They get in the game, they decide to become an entrepreneur, and they just keep doing, and then just they start doing things, and
Or
they
they're
keep,
like me. They're sort of an inadvertent entrepreneur. Like that wasn't really my plan.
right.
This wasn't my goal.
And just something to add, right? I was doing things like crazy in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't lack the drive. I didn't lack the I guess you can call it discipline, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I was like I had a decision.
Mm-hmm.
The important one. Okay, I wanted to follow my dreams, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think I had a decision.
Yeah. And it is critical to your success that you break it down for that's great. Start with the dream. You know, I want to follow my dreams. Great. So which dream?
Mm-hmm.
And in which way? And what life are you building? What is it that you're trying to escape? What are you moving away from? What are you moving toward? You know, I love not having to get up and go anywhere in the morning. The fact that I can lay in bed and roll over and pat the cats and read my book or do my little prayer and meditation work and not have to like hop out of bed and get in the shower and get in the car and get going the way I always did whenever I had a gig
Mm-hmm.
or a job is so delicious to me that even now, 20 years later, I'm still like, oh my God, this is the best. Right? So if I were going to decide to change my life, that's one of the things I would want to keep if I can.
Right.
Right? And of course, there are plenty of mornings where I do have to get up and go going, and that's fine. But I do love it that in general, I set my own calendar and I get to work when I want to work and not work when I don't want to work. I will also tell you, since we're all friends here, I've had long haul COVID for the last 3 years, which means my energy went from being I can do everything all day long for everybody
Mm-hmm.
to I can do about, I got about half a cup of energy. I can do one or two things and then I'm done. Um, which has been a whole other process. So for me, the process of deciding what am I going to spend my limited amount of energy on? Where am I going to get the biggest bang for my buck? How can I put out this much energy and get this much back in terms of revenue, exposure, interest, excitement, clients, students, whatever? For example, one of the ways is I ended up becoming an instructor for LinkedIn Learning. So I have, I don't know, 12 or 13 videos on up there. You can go check them out. Uh, I have over 1.2 million students on LinkedIn worldwide,
Wow.
right? I can't
That's
really
significant.
I can't really wrap my head around it myself. And I have to say, it's not
Wow.
a big money maker. I don't make a ton of money off of those, but I love it that the same work I was doing in a church basement in Van Nuys to 11 people is now reaching millions of people worldwide, most of whom would never buy a self-help book, right? But because what I'm talking to them about is time management for busy people, how to stop wasting time in meetings, how to get things done ahead of deadlines, right? It sounds like it's about time management, but time management is not about time, right? Time management is about personal development. Writing effective emails and running good meetings is not about, you know, proprietary meeting structure. It's about communication. So I feel like I'm sort of stealth teaching
Mm,
personal development to people who would never in a million years otherwise come across it.
right. Time management is not about time, and I agree. And it's also about quality. And I think part of that quality, decision making contributes to the quality of your actions.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's not like, and I remember, yeah, back in the day, it used to be like, okay, how can I do more things in that same frame of time? But that's not that, right?
It's not about getting more things done. Productivity is not about getting more things done. Productivity is about getting the things that matter done.
That's it. That's it. Right. Okay. So how do you make quality decisions? What goes into that?
Well, partly this is a great moment for self-inquiry. Like, how do you like to process information? Some people, for a lot of us, walking really helps. we're sort of designed to walk physically. And
Right.
you may notice that when you go for a walk, you kind of get good ideas, or you sort of think
Yeah.
through things in your mind. Some of us are more verbal. I'm a verbal processor. If I don't say it, I don't know that I've thought it. And sometimes I don't know that I've said it until somebody says it back to me. So it's very helpful for me to have somebody to
Mhm.
talk to and talk things through. And my my former assistant will tell you, my team leader, I used to call her up and be like, okay, Leonard, just listen to this. I'm thinking about blah, 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 blah. But then if I blah, 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 but maybe I should blah, blah. You know what? I'm gonna blah, blah, blah. Great, thank you. And she'd be like, you're welcome. All she had to do was sit there and listen, and I was like, let me talk through it, and then I could make a decision. So some of us are more verbal. Some people like to sketch it out. I love asking people to do this. In fact, we can do this right now. You guys want to do something right now? Let's make a decision right now. Let's not make it theoretical. Let's do a real thing. Grab a piece of scrap paper. Obviously, if you're driving, don't. But otherwise, I like index cards, but whatever you got is fine. Grab a pen or a pencil or a marker or something. And I want you to think about a situation in your life that you would really like to change. Okay, something where you're like, something's got to give here because this is not working for me. And it doesn't matter if it's personal, if it's in your marriage or your family or you or your body or your business or the world, whatever it is, whatever it is. Okay, just pick one for right now. And I'm going to give you 90 seconds to make a little drawing of how that feels, a little doodle. It's not art, nobody's ever going to see it, but just how does it what does it look like? What does the feeling look like? So we're just going to get that feeling on paper in front of you. 90 seconds. Go. Stick figures are fine. It can look like a kindergartner's. It's no big deal. Uh, and just keep drawing and don't let yourself stop. You can add little details if you want. Um, we've still got over a minute to go, so you could add little details. Good. Keep going. Again, make it look dumb. It's okay. Nobody's ever going to see it. Got about 40 seconds left, so you can just keep going. Good. Got 20 seconds left. Add a little more flair, a little few dots or something. Okay. And if you're not drawing, you can just breathe through this. We'll get them. Don't worry. It's only 10 more seconds. 5. Great. Good. Now, what I'm hoping is that you can look at this drawing and be a little illuminated. Be like, oh, yeah, that is how I'm feeling. Or, wow, I didn't realize I was feeling that strongly about this. I was working with a client one time. We were working around budgetary things, financial issues for her. And she was clearly getting kind of agitated. And I was like, let's pause, take a breath. I want you to spend 90 seconds making a drawing about however it is you're feeling about all this budgeting stuff right now. And she took this piece of paper and drew this giant black bird that like took up the entire paper. And I was like, okay, tell me about this. And she's like, I don't think I ever realized how angry I am.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, good to know. Right. And now she can go to her team and to her husband and to me and say, like, working on this budget thing makes me feel like this.
Right.
Right. Okay, great. How can we make it feel less like a giant angry blackbird? Right. I just drew a little stick figure at the bottom of a big staircase, and there's like a big steel door. And it's like, I think I have to get through the door and climb up the whole staircase because and then it's going to be exhausting. But I realized as I drew it, I didn't know this when I started, but like if I slid under the door, there's this world of like sunshine and money raining
All
down.
right. Love that.
Right. So like that's my mind going like, oh, maybe there's another way out. So I don't,
I,
what
I
about
got
you?
myself a crown.
Yes, very good.
Really cool.
Yeah. And then you can do it again with how would you like to be feeling, right? How would you like to be feeling? How would you like this situation to resolve? This is great to do with kids. It's great to do with anybody, because again, it's not about art. No, but you can see mine looks like a scribbly
Yeah.
child. Um, and again, so it's sort of a way to let your feelings speak to you and express them because feelings just want to be felt. Feelings just want to be felt.
Yeah.
And once they've been felt, and once they know they've been felt, they can get promoted and get a better job.
So I guess we need to decide to feel the feelings
Mm-hmm.
because if we don't, I guess that's the saying, what we resist persists.
Here's the way I heard it put to me one time. If you ignore those feelings, if you try to lock them in the basement, they stay down there and they lift weights.
And, and they get bigger and
They get bigger and
stronger.
stronger. That's
Oh
right.
my God,
Exactly.
that's so
Right.
such a cool
Isn't that a great image?
metaphor.
I know. I wish I'd thought of it. But if you let them out, and say, I see you. I get it. I understand. Yes, you are a big angry black bird. Yes, you feel like you're behind a steel door and you've got a big stairway to climb. I get it.
Yeah, here's a nail on the head because for ages, I didn't let myself feel anything
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Handling it all, running it all, and also, and then maybe we can throw some stones here. Let's see. And also hearing this advice. Push, push, push. Do.
Mhm.
Overcome. Stay consistent. Block all the freaking everything like social
Yeah.
life and everything for 2 years,
Yeah.
right? Well, what was the story of that? Like, well, why?
Well, here's the thing about conventional wisdom. Conventional wisdom works for conventional people doing conventional things. So the conventional wisdom about like how often to change the oil in your car, yeah, you should do that,
Oh my God, that's so true. Huh?
right? But there is no conventional wisdom for how to run a business or start a business. There is no conventional wisdom for how to succeed. This is where, like I said, this is where Get It Done came from. This is what Get It Done is. It is project management for highly creative people because they kept reading all these books about how to be more organized and get things done and hustle and all this stuff, many of which were great. But again, entrepreneurs, artists, creatives, actors, we don't care who's moved our cheese. Like, that's not our thing.
I really love that you use the word creation in all this. You might think, what's creative about making decisions? But I love what you said. I resonate with it so much that first of all, like even when you said, go for a walk,
Yeah.
and that implies, and that what my mind picked on, you kind of have to relax, or not kind of, you actually need to relax in order to make good decisions.
If you are an entrepreneur, you are the engine pulling this entire train. You must be fed, rested, cuddled, creatively satisfied, walked, all the things, right? You cannot expect to turn around and give your best to the business and to the world when you are depleted, when you are running at a deficit. You are what the world likes to call self-care, which is such a stupid phrase. It sounds like I'm gonna go get a manicure. Like, I don't get manicures. I hate manicures. Um, but I do make sure I get enough sleep. I do make sure I stop and eat some protein
Mhm.
every 3 or 4 hours. I do make sure that I don't work on Sundays. I do make sure that I shut my computer at 6 at night or 7 at night and don't look at it again. You know, I do the things to protect my mental and physical health and well-being because if I am not in peak condition, I can't do this job properly.
Yeah.
And it is an undue burden on other people. Here's the thing, right? You hear this all the time of like, oh, I can't take that time for myself, Sam. That would be selfish. My family needs me. My work needs me. That would be selfish if I took a walk or went to work out or had lunch with a friend, or that would be selfish. Let's reality check that. You know what's actually selfish? Is you walking around exhausted and stressed out and with no sense of humor. And the rest of us have to deal with you when you're like that. That is selfish behavior. You show up rested, fed, fulfilled, laughing, orgasmed, happy, whatever it is that you need to be, and there's a light in your eyes. We love this version of you. That
Hmm.
is a true gift to the world. And does it mean you're going to have to say no to some things? You bet.
Yeah.
But it's probably going to mean saying no to the things that you're resenting anyway. Right. And you can
Yeah.
practice. You can practice saying no because we're not really trained to say no. Right. In 15-minute method, I
Yes.
have a whole list of different ways to say no.
And that's how I knew I needed this topic on my podcast to put it in the whole conversation about running your business from the place of freedom. I knew I wanted you to talk about this because this is, like, so most entrepreneurs, they run on this autopilot. Do these massive to-do lists, which are good to have to organize yourself because there's so much stuff, do
Sure.
priorities and but they never stop and they run from this survival mode.
That's right.
And so they never make real decisions. Meaning what? Well, what does it mean? Somebody else makes decisions for them, right?
That's right. Or you let the world make your decisions for you, or you let lack of
Exactly.
time make decisions for you. You know, people say, "Oh, I want to make more money, or I need more clients." Okay, well, how many sales calls did you make last week? Oh, well, I was really busy, writing blog posts. Okay, you made a
Yeah.
decision and you got your results. You tell me what you want to do next.
Yeah. So could you talk to me about, I guess there are different types of decisions, like maybe there's the like big picture decisions, then probably micro decisions, like decisions every day.
Yeah, so there's a couple ways to come at this. Um, there's the old story about the young couple who got married. When the older couple and the gentleman saying, "Oh, when we got married 50 years ago, I said I'll be in charge of all the big decisions, and you take care of the little decisions, sweetheart." And it turns out there's only little decisions, which is kind of
Except
true.
except for the decision to get married.
Well, but she probably made that one too. So,
Right.
and again, actually, it's interesting. I had in that, again, we're talking a lot about my first marriage, but when we went to our pre-Cana consulting with my minister, the first question he asked was, "Why get married?"
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "You don't have to. Like, why would you get married?" And then he said, "And here's the thing, you've been deciding to get married since you met. Every step along the way, you have been deciding to stay together. You've been deciding to get married. You've been deciding to move closer to this." And so we sort of make a big deal about this one step of the decision. But in fact,
Mm-hmm.
that decision has been happening the whole time up until now. And it continues to happen every morning when you wake up and say, "Do I want to stay married to this person?"
Oh my God. So that's such a great insight because whether you are aware or not, you are still making decisions. If you're not making decisions in this direction means you're making decisions in this automatically on autopilot. So how about being proactive in make? So I guess that's what we are talking about, being proactive in
Being
making your
proactive and taking responsibility,
yeah.
like not passing it off onto other people. "Oh, my boss won't let me. Oh, my kids won't let me. Oh, my, really? Try it. Try it. See what
Yes,
happens."
I guess so. Okay, so this has to do with ownership, really owning it,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
Now, instead of letting decisions run me, I'm running my decisions because
Yeah.
decisions are still happening. If I'm not deciding on A, I'm deciding a decision is made on B.
And we love to trick ourselves into feeling like not deciding is somehow safer. Like, "Oh, I'm still thinking about it. Well, I'm still researching. Well, I'm not sure.
That's
I
true.
don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure." And it feels safe because no one's ever going to criticize you for, being considered. On the other hand, not deciding is a decision.
It's exactly, yeah.
right? Well, I don't know what my book is about yet, so I don't want to start writing it because I don't know what it is yet. Okay, so you're deciding to not write a book.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Exactly.
no, I mean, I want to write a book. I just don't know what. Uh-huh. But today, you're not writing a book. On the other hand, you could pick up a pen and write for 15 minutes and be writing a book and let the book tell you. Figure it out as you go. Most of what you need to know is on the other side of the decision. I would love it if we had all the clarity before the decision. That would be amazing, but that's not really how it works. Same thing, like if you're sitting there going, oh, I really, I want to go on vacation. I'm just not sure where to go. I just don't know. It's expensive. I'm not sure. Well, you can stay in that world forever, and that's a decision to not go anywhere, right? The minute you decide and you say, you know
Mm-hmm.
what? In June, we are going to Greece. Great. Now you have a decision. And now you can start going, well, where in Greece are we going to go? Where are we going to stay? How much do we want to spend? What am I going to wear? Like that
Mm.
one decision now begets a series of other decisions. But allowing yourself to stay in this fog of like, well, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm still looking into it. I have a friend. I don't know. Like,
And it can feel so agonizing to
of
be in
course,
that place. And then when you get exhausted, you make a decision from survival
or by default,
by default.
or the decision makes you,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And I will, to give us all a little bit of credit, it does feel very serious, to make a decision sometimes. And many of us as children, our mistakes were not greeted with grace. Our mistakes were greeted with punishment
Yeah.
or teasing or disapproval. We have an opportunity as adults to be a little more loving and patient and gracious with
Mm.
ourselves and to say, okay, I'm going to make this decision, at least for today, right? This is how people who get sober do it, right? I'm just going to do this for today. I'm making this decision for today. Tomorrow, I'll make the decision again. We'll see, right?
Mm.
And, but the part of why it feels sort of serious is right there in the word. Again, the root word of decision is side, which is to cut. And it's the same root word as in homicide or matricide or it means to cut off or to kill, right? So the minute you decide something, you are cutting off other possibilities.
And that is where it gets scary for people.
That's right. And what I want to remind you is that, first of all, you can decide both. I want to have a successful business and I want to get 10 hours of sleep a night.
Mm.
I want to start a successful business and I want to have time with my children. I want to start a successful business and I want to be free to travel 9 months out of the year, right? Great. Now you have your parameters. Now you know what you're looking to do. I mean, back in the 70s, my mom was a single working mom. She took a job and she sat down in downtown Chicago and she said, I only work Monday to Thursday. I won't be in on Fridays. She goes, I can do 5 days of work in 4 days and you will not see me on Fridays because she had two
Mm.
kids and she didn't want to not have a life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So important. So important. And you were talking about, us as kids being punished for making certain decisions. So obviously, and I talk about that quite a bit about those kind of things, the beliefs that we carry through life and they come from our childhood and we are all affected.
Of course.
So what are the things the biggest sort of barriers for people to make big or important or quality decisions? Because it is scary sometimes. Okay, will I do this or that? This and that. Obviously, I don't have all the time in the world. I
Mhm.
need to choose. I need to make a decision. Or when it comes to, I don't know, enrolling into high level programs, investing top dollars,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that might be scary as hell, right? So how do you make those kind of decisions where it seems that there is no way to roll back,
Right.
or it's so big,
Yeah.
so like significant that it's gonna change everything, and there is no way going in the other direction if I decide differently.
Right. Okay. So that's a big fairy tale, right? Because first of all, nothing changes everything. You've been you for some time now, and you're not going to stop being yourself, right? So that's not going to change. And very few things are irreparable. Very few things are
Mhm.
undoable, you know. Um, I mean, even if you decide to quit your job and you can't get that job back, it doesn't mean you're never going to have a job again,
Mhm.
right? Uh, so I'll say two things about this. One is, and one of the things that will not change about you and has not changed about you is your values. What are the things that matter to you? And again, I've got some mechanisms for figuring out what those are for you
So
so
you
that you,
have that. So that's included
yeah,
in what you do. That's super.
yeah. And so, for example, the values of my business are creativity, authenticity or transparency, kindness, good humor, and what we call the perfect word. It's about being sort of careful in our language and highly literate. Now, let's say I have a problem in my business, right? Let's say someone's unhappy with me, and wants a refund. It never happens, but or it happens occasionally. Let's say it happens. Somebody wants a refund. They're really mad. And I say, okay, great. Now there's an infinite number of ways I could choose to respond to this situation. But I'm going to go, okay, what is the creative, authentic, kind, good humored, carefully worded way to respond to this? That gives me a real come from, right? That's not me saying, I'll see you in small claims court. That's me saying, wow, I hear you saying these things. I totally get it. You know, ouch. I did not know, or I should have known. I apologize, whatever it is. But now I'm behaving in integrity with myself, whatever they're doing. Right. And if what I'm doing doesn't have these feelings, doesn't have these values baked into it, I'm not interested.
Mhm.
The other thing, the other side of that that's wonderful is this means that my business is a force for good in the world, is a force for my values in the world, even when I'm not there,
Mhm.
right? Because when everything I do is motivated by these five words, by these five values, they're baked into everything I'm doing. People feel it. There's a great book by a guy named Kip Tindell called Uncontainable, and he's the guy who created the Container Store, which is a store in the U.S. and probably other countries too, where they sell like a lot of closet organizers and stuff for those of us who are organization junkies. It's heaven. um, and
Wow.
but it's one of the best books I've ever read in terms of how to bake your values into your business so that just the way that you do business demonstrates what matters to you.
So first of all, I absolutely love the fact that you mentioned values, and it sounds like knowing your values needs to come before you make decisions, because then it's much easier because you base all your decisions on your values. Now, here is the tricky part for me. I I used to struggle, and I wouldn't say I have like five strictly defined values because there are so many things that I could, embrace and make them into my mission and everything that I do. And so, how do I choose? It sounds like there's another decision that needs to be made.
Yeah, I mean, I think it probably feels a lot more crowded inside of your head than it looks to us outside, right? I bet if you started writing down, the 50 words that you feel are, reflect your values, and then I asked you to, knock it down to 20, and then knock it down to 10, and then knock it down to five, you could, right? And and in my experience, it kind of, it at least it gives you a place to start,
Mhm.
right? Um, The other thing you can do that is a popular thing, especially among entrepreneurs, is to make fewer decisions, right? There is such a thing as decision fatigue. So
Yes.
make decisions faster. Money loves decisions. Money loves speed, right? So make more decisions faster, but also see if you can't make less decisions, right? So if you're Steve Jobs and you decide, okay, I'm just going to wear a black turtleneck and jeans every single day, well, that's a decision you never have to make again, right? You've just freed up all that brain space of what are you going to wear? You know, a lot
Mm.
of people eat the same thing every day or eat the same thing for lunch every day because it's a decision they never have to think about again.
Yeah.
Um, Other people, um, you know, make a decision that they're going to, you know, respond to every email within 24 hours. Great, right? That helps us prioritize. Now we know, no, that's important to me. I'm going to do that. Um, the one I love, this is a tech advancement that I just adore, is calendar links. Because, like most people, if you ask me to do something, I'll just say yes. You know, if you say, "Hey Sam, you know, can we meet on Friday?" I'll say, "Sure, yeah, of course, yeah, fine, Friday's fine." But here's the
Right.
thing: I don't really like to work Friday. Like my mother, I don't like to work Fridays, particularly Friday afternoons. I tend to not work Friday afternoons. But if you say, "Let's meet Friday at 2," I'll be like, "Okay, yeah, sure, fine, Friday at 2." But if you say, "Let's meet," and I say, "Great, here's my calendar link." Now I've already blocked out Friday afternoons. You
Yeah.
can't book me Friday afternoons. I've already booked out for date night. I've already booked out during my workout times. I've already booked out for my prayer and meditation time. You can't book me then. So I never have to decide, do I have time to do that? I
Great.
already have time to do it because it's already on my calendar and you can't book it. And I never have to say no.
Exactly, right? It's blocked. And yeah, calendars work. But also, that idea of blocking you time first, like blocking your freedom time, your self-care time first. That is gold.
Well, this is the thing I never understand is people become entrepreneurs because they're like, I want the freedom, I want to manage, I want time freedom, I want the great. Take it. Take it. But you're gonna become an entrepreneur and train yourself to a desk 14 hours a day? I thought that was what you left, right? You want to make your own world,
Mm.
make your own world.
I don't know, like it probably is different for everyone, so in the beginning, people are fighting for some income, many people, right? So sometimes they don't realize that they are sacrificing too much, you know. And, there are people in various situations. I meet so many women who are not making their own income and they are in this situation where they are controlled by somebody, or the circumstances, So I guess that participates, kind of
So
like, and
that
also the
involves,
promise, it's around the corner. The breakthrough is around the corner. So we agree or decide, okay, I'll wait until around the corner thingy, you
yeah.
know?
And there's a couple of misapprehensions. There's a couple of uh lies, seems like an extreme word, but there's a couple of lies in that story of like, well, I'm a beginner, so I shouldn't charge very much.
Mhm.
Why?
Agreed.
That's not true. You're great at what you do. You may not have as much experience as you're going to have, but you're still great at what you do, right? So charge top of the market. I once had this question posed to me, and I think about it all the time. What is the difference between, let's say, a young woman fresh out of art school and she has a painting and she's charging $500 for it versus that same woman who has that same painting and charges $50,000 for it?
Or I recently heard this compare like the guy was talking about prices and money and how money is relative. It's
Yes,
never objective.
correct.
And I can't remember the name, but he was asking, posing the question, why somebody like a nurse who is saving lives gets paid way less than some painter, some artist for some painting that no, you don't actually need for, you know, any other reason than just like, I don't know, enjoying it.
Well, there are paintings that have saved lives. I wouldn't,
True,
I,
but generally speaking, right?
yeah,
Generally speaking.
sure.
So like really,
Right. No, and the person who flies around on the private jet, they're spending $50,000 to go to Palm Springs for the weekend on their private jet when that nurse is slaving all year to make
yeah,
$50,000.
yeah,
Right. So you're right. Money is never objective and it just conveys, what is the value to them? Right. So what's the transformation you're offering and what is the value to them? And
exactly.
it's okay to, you only want to work with ideal clients. You only ever work with ideal clients. Nothing is more expensive than a bad client. And if you have not learned that yet, please take it from me. Nothing, that person that you're like, well, I think I can help. No, stop right there. Stop it because
I'm glad you're saying that. I'm
it's
hearing
not going
this
to
all
go
the
well.
time. Well, what I do can help everyone.
No, it can't. No, it can't. What's this t-shirt? You're not tacos. You can't make everybody happy. So ideal clients need you. They know they need you. They are demonstrating through their behavior that they need you, right? What does that mean? They're Googling you, they're searching for you, they're asking their friends about you, they're calling around, they're getting references. They're, right? Just like you when you need a new pair of shoes or you need a podiatrist, you start looking, right? And so they need you. They know they need you. They can pay you. They share some of your values. They don't share all your values. You don't have to agree politically, but if they don't share your values, it's gonna be like the lover that buys you gifts that you're like, what is this? Why would you get me this? Right? You're just gonna miss each other
Mhm.
completely.
Yeah. And most likely they share your story, at least
Often,
pieces
often.
of it. And I
Yeah.
that's what I often do with my clients, when we talk about marketing. What is your own story? How did you come
Hmm.
to doing this, what you're doing?
Right.
And there's so much gold in just that.
Oh, people resonate with it so much. Again, when you're being authentic, when you tell the truth of your story, and first of all, make sure you can tell the story without crying, right? That's a good teaching story. We don't want to be emotionally, indulgent, right? We want to be being a leader means being emotionally responsible for yourself and not making other people emotionally responsible for you. So there's a little sometimes that especially in personal development that gets a little much people like, oh, your message, and I'm going to tell all about how when I was abused and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, that's how is that helping me? How is that helping someone else? Right? When you can tell the story in a way that helps someone else, then great. Do that for sure.
Yeah.
Do that for sure. And it's a beautiful way to connect with people. Um, but yeah, don't this I can work with anybody. What I do helps everybody. No, no.
I think it's one of the biggest problems and reasons why people actually struggle in their business. They
Well,
try.
and they feel like, well, if I limit my target market, then I'm excluding people or I'm leaving people out, or what if other people, if I say I work with, women ages, 35 to 42, well, that doesn't mean I'm not going to work with a woman who's 50 or I'm not going to work with a woman who's 30. It just means I'm speaking to these particular women.
Exactly.
And the more specific I can be, the more I can say, hey, look, you're thinking this. You're mistaking your problem for this. You have these values. You watched these TV shows growing up. You're wearing these kinds of clothes. You're going to these kind of places. This is your problem. I can help you. And they start to go, oh my God, she knows me. I want to work with her because she gets me.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. So listen, so first of all, if somebody is in the place where they're feeling stuck, and I talk about grinding and getting out, exiting the grind and creating business, running business from the place of freedom, But I know that some people or many people don't even know where to start,
Yeah.
right? So for someone like that, in the context of decision making, what could be one shift they could make probably today?
Well, at the risk of sounding incredibly self-serving, if you go to my website, the opt-in is called the Getting Started Kit, and it involves decision making. It is
Okay.
about trying to figure out what your next step is. So if you go to therealsambennett.com, the real Sam Bennett,
Mhm.
you know my team keeps threatening to make the fake Sam Bennett, which is going to be me. They're like, don't do anything, don't decide, no one cares. No, so the real SamBennett.com, and you just opt in. It'll say getting started or get started now or something, and get that. You might also enjoy seeing what I do with email because I do email a little differently than other people do email, and it's kind of fun. So obviously you can opt out anytime. I don't mind. But you might want to do it, try it, do the little exercise, see what happens, and then let me know. Write me back, tell me about your project. We can be pen pals and best friends. It'll be great.
Yeah, super. Okay, so I ask everyone, to tell the one listening what you do. So I guess you already tell, but like specifically, who do you help
Mhm.
and how do you help them?
Yeah. So I help highly creative people get out of their own way. I help them stop overthinking and take the steps necessary to bring their great work out into the world. Sometimes that's through book coaching. Sometimes that's through entrepreneurial coaching. Sometimes that's through personal development. It just depends. I like to do a lot of things, so I don't necessarily limit the areas in which I work, but I'm always working with highly creative people who have a lot of talents and skills, can talk themselves in and out of things on a dime, will overcomplicate a paper bag, and helping them move forward in a way that feels really great to them.
That's so cool. And so I guess if they want to find you, they just go to the website that you just shared, and I'll put
Right.
the link in the show notes as well.
Right. And I'm the real Sam Bennett on all the socials. If you're on LinkedIn, I can share with you some of my courses for free if you ping me and say, hey, I'd
Oh,
like to see that, you
amazing.
know. Um, yeah. So I'm on all the socials as the real Sam Bennett.
Okay, and now I ask three blitz questions.
Okay.
Everyone that I get on my show. So this is super easy and quick. No
Okay.
overthinking. So the first one is, what change would you like to see in the world?
I'd like to see people be more polite.
Oh.
Yeah. I think politeness gets a bad rap because it sounds stuffy or it sounds formal. And I don't mean that. I just mean being respectful and taking the
Mhm.
time to make eye contact and say, hello, hi, nice to see you. Welcome. How can I help you? Thank you. That's an interesting point. And not just going right to anger and outrage and hysteria and foot stomping and finger pointing, but
Yeah, probably about something that they don't even know anything
probably,
about.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
I'd like to, I was raised to be very respectful to everyone, to my classmates, to my elders, to my teachers, and it
Mhm.
doesn't mean I didn't disagree with them. It didn't mean I didn't get into trouble. It didn't mean I didn't, yell and scream sometimes. But overall, I think, you
Mhm.
know, I mean, I was in the grocery store the other day and a woman looked up at me and sort of made eye contact and said, hi, how are you today? I was like, hi, I'm great. Thanks for asking. How are you? And she goes, good, good. A little stressed out. I'm like,
Oh,
yeah, me too. That was
beautiful.
it. It was a 12-second conversation, but I was like, this is so great. Hi, human being. You know? So just a little common kindness. That's all. A little kinder. Maybe I don't mean polite. Maybe I mean kind.
And this is a bit of a out of, I don't know, totally a little bit off topic, but there is some link to it. I saw an article recently that people saying uh please and thank you to the AI tool,
Yes,
to
I've read that.
GPT, are costing millions and millions, but it's worth it, something
I think
like
it's totally worth it. I don't want to be disrespectful to my machine. I love my machines. I
that.
thank them. I thank my computer. I thank the room when I leave
And
a
I
hotel
do that
room. I'm
too.
like,
It's
thank
like,
you, room. 100%. I thank the car. Yeah.
having said that, I did give out to it. once as well when I do like the answers.
I have a friend who is, generally speaking, a very polite person, but she loves that she can yell at AI, that she can like,
It's
you know,
like, and I was like sitting there, I just gave out a machine. Like, what, like, did it really? Like, that was such a funny. I was like,
and that's the beautiful thing about AI is it will never lose patience with you.
yeah, but yeah, please and thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are great answers. Great. Okay, so the second question is, what legacy would you personally like to leave?
I always think I would like to be on a stamp, you know, like 100 years from now or something. I would like my work to matter enough that somebody says, "Oh, let's put her on a stamp."
Well, you've already got endorsed by Seth Godin, so
No, right? I
it's
think they should put Seth Godin on a stamp. And this
Yes.
is, of course, assuming that the mail service still exists 100 years from now. But yeah, that's the kind of fame I would like. I would like my work to matter to the degree that they
Yeah,
would put me on a stamp.
super. Okay, and so the last one is when you hear from grind to grace, what goes through your mind?
It means giving over to the divine, making space for that which we have not earned and do not deserve.
Mm,
Um, and it means giving up the illusion that hard is good, that there's virtue in poverty, that there's virtue in overworking, that there is virtue in busy. And it means moving into a state of celebration of your
mm,
own life. We don't know how long we're here for. We know we're not here indefinitely. It's a one-way street for everybody. I mean, I just had two friends die in the last week. And so this is your moment to, do you want to get to your deathbed and go, "Oh, I'm so glad I, scrubbed that tile grout?" Or do you want to get to your deathbed and say, "That was fun"?
mhm. That's beautiful. Thank you. And thank you for being here with me today and sharing all this, sharing the energy and the fun.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for sticking around.
Yeah, thanks everyone for listening. And there's no doubt, you got some nuggets. And also, I believe that you might know someone who could benefit from this and who could be helped and served by this. So, first of all, go follow Samantha, go find her, get her wisdoms, from her. Also, share this episode, follow the podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to you again next week.